Hello, I'm Alien, and I want to talk to you about something that if you're thinking about getting married or you're looking at getting married, and if you look at the divorce rate here in the United States, it could make you think that marriage is designed to fail. See, the divorce rate here in the United States is at 50%. So 1 out of 2 marriages will end up in divorce. And back in the 1940s, the divorce rate was 0. And it wasn't until the 70s that the divorce rate began to climb. But see, back then it was really hard to get a divorce. One had to commit a crime, one had to commit adultery, one had to for abandonment, abuse. But after the 70s, then it really started to climb because it got easier and easier for people to get a divorce. Today we can go before a judge and tell them, look, we're incompatible. Look, we just can't get along. And we'll be given a divorce. And we hear people say that you have to work at your marriage. Well, I don't believe that. You work at your job. Your marriage and your home, you shouldn't have to work at. Loving your wife, you shouldn't have to work at. And to me, see, and you've heard people say that a marriage is a 50-50 deal. Well, no. I believe it's what you put in it is what you'll get out of it, or should be what you get out of it. Now, if you put 50, then you're going to get 50 back. If you put 100% in it, then you should get 100% back. So it's up to us on how it is. And I read a survey back that was done in 2014. And it said 73% of the people that got divorced was the lack of commitment. 61 of the said that they wished that their spouse would have worked harder at the marriage. 21% of the women and 35% of the men said that they wished they themselves would have worked harder at their marriage. You see, Paul gives us instructions in Ephesians 5, like how a husband is supposed to treat a wife and how a wife is supposed to treat a husband. Well, see, Ephesians 5, Paul tells us he first directs the men. He said, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. He gave his life for the church. He presented her spotless, washing by the word. And then he directed it toward the women. Women, submit yourself unto your husband as you would the Lord. For the husband is head of the wife. I don't mean like in a dictatorship. I mean the same way Christ led the church, that's the way we need to lead the house or the marriage. See, Christ loved the church. He wasn't ugly. He wasn't rude to the church. He didn't abuse the church. See, these are things we need to look at and take our guidelines from. Let that be an outline. And there's other scriptures in the Bible that talks about marriage, husband and wife. But sometimes people get married for the wrong reason. Sometimes they just get married just for the sex. Well, you know, that stops. And then what will you do? See, and some people say that their marriage was just bound for the disaster at the start. Well, let's take a maritime disaster of 1912 and let's fit that in with the marriage. You may ask, well, that's kind of a weird thing to put in with a marriage. Well, let's think about it. See, in 1912, the Titanic sank to the bottom of the ocean. And so on April 10th, this set in motion the things that would be known as the maritime disaster. People were boarding this big luxury ship that they thought this ship can't be sunk. Nothing can sink it. And 5 days into their cruise, they hit an iceberg. And that iceberg ripped the metal alongside that ship. That ship started filling up with water. People started jumping over the side. And by eyewitness accounts, they said that the Titanic turned upright, bobbed once, then broke in half, and went to its resting place at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Now let's fit this in with a marriage. Now you know there's one man in charge of that whole ship. There's many people to make sure that it runs correctly and operates smoothly. And let's make that one man that's ahead of the ship, let's make him God. And the Titanic, the ship, is our marriage. And the Atlantic Ocean is our journey in our marriage. And the icebergs are all the disasters and all the evil and distractions and things that try to attack our marriage to get in, to tear us apart. See, let's let God navigate us through all those icebergs, all those distractions, all that evil that's around, all those things that try to get into our marriage. Let's let God maneuver us around to miss them. If we hit one, it could be just like the Titanic. It could rip that marriage in half, and that marriage would sink to the bottom of the ocean. And you know, the sad thing is, sometimes when a husband and wife get a divorce, there are young kids involved. And they're innocent. But all they know is mom don't come home at night, or dad don't come home, or they see one or the other on the weekends. So, is marriage designed to fail? No. See, God ordained marriage as a wonderful and beautiful thing. What made marriage look so dishonorable is us. And I think a couple of key things to me that makes for a successful marriage is have God as the foundation, be committed to each other, and communicate with each other. Now what I mean is open your ears, open your heart, open your mouth. Open your ears, listen what your wife has to say and hear her. Open your mouth and open your heart and talk to her, not at her, and let her know how you feel. Communication. Those three things are what I would consider the key to a successful marriage. You know, we thank God that we're able to make these videos. We thank you for watching them. And remember, keep reading, keep believing, and keep the faith.